Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It is Wednesday afternoon, and we are doing a preview episode a day early thanks to the holiday. TJ Pittenger, Richie Barnes, and Nick De La Torre. Nick, Richie, how are you gentlemen doing today?
Man, I am doing great. This is my favorite week of the year, TJ. It's a short work week. You get to get together with family and enjoy a feast. Nobody's going to judge you if you get a little too drunk, and you get football all weekend, and we get some Florida State basketball tonight. So I cannot complain about anything. How about you, Nick?
Egg Bowl. Egg Bowl. I think Florida fans heard Lane Kiffin, who was like, you don't need to get that serious about a rivalry game. And Florida fans were like, and for that reason, I'm out. Like, I don't need that kind of attitude here. Yeah. They're like, all right, well, wanted Lane, never mind. But yeah, Thursday, it's almost encouraged to drink a little too much, eat a little too much, and watch football all day. That's a great holiday. That's the most American holiday possible.
Nick, Richie, I've asked some different people this. I've kind of talked about it. What's your number one Thanksgiving side and your number one Thanksgiving dessert?
Go ahead, Nick.
Dessert is a Dutch apple pie with vanilla ice cream. Warm apple pie with the ice cream on top. Side, it depends. We talked about this on Stadium and Gale. I didn't know what the difference between stuffing and dressing was, and I think it's just that dressing inside of a turkey is stuffing, but don't like it either way. I like either mashed potatoes, the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows on top, or mac and cheese. I probably 1A, 1B there.
Yeah, those are good. And I don't have a sweet tooth, so I don't really care about desserts. And that might be blasphemy on here. I don't know. But my mom, she loves the Hershey's like chocolate turtle pie from Publix that you can pick up, the frozen one. So that'd probably be it. And for a side, my wife makes some phenomenal
I like how you go with something out of the frozen section, not even like a homemade thing.
for a side,
ridiculous.
It's like Stouffer's makes a really good mac and cheese.
Those Ore-Ida potatoes that you mix water with.
But for a side, my wife makes some phenomenal slow cookers, carrots with honey and sriracha in there, and they are just like, there's no crunch at all, to the point where it tastes. And you think of carrots, you want a good crunch, right? But not this one. She makes it so perfectly. It tastes so good. Compliments the turkey. I love it.
That's hilarious. I'm probably going. Not her. The carrots. The carrots do sound really good. The dessert was hilarious. Dessert. I'm probably going with like a pecan pie. My wife does make an excellent Dutch apple pie though. Every year, that she just mentioned, she's going to make a bourbon chocolate pecan pie this year because I said I wanted to try that. And so fingers crossed that comes out good. But pecan pie for dessert, and then side is probably, I'm a big mashed potato fan, but it's probably between like broccoli casserole or sweet potato casserole, which is, I do have a sweet tooth. So that's kind of like a dessert.
Real quick, what's y'all's thoughts on green bean casserole? Because I saw a lot of slander on green bean casserole on the timeline today. And I don't get it. I don't know. I grew up in a Puerto Rican household, and that's kind of a staple of my mom's dish. But at the same, I was shocked. Like, people are like, oh, that's trash. I'm like, no, man, that's really good.
Growing up in a Cuban house, so we always had it. I didn't like it when I was a kid. I'm fine. I'll eat it now, but like, I'm not going to be angry if I go to a family's house and oh wait, there's no green bean casserole. That's it. Let's grab everything. We're out of here.
Yeah,
my wife loves it. I can take it or leave it. It does need to be made with fresh.
It's got to be fresh ingredients. Yeah,
you can't do the canned stuff.
No.
Double Fries No Slaw, brought to you by Guthrie's in
You
Tallahassee.
can never do coleslaw, right?
Yeah, leave the coleslaw off. Hey, wanted to take a quick second and announce that for this preview episode, this FSU UF preview, we have a special sponsor. We have Salomone Digital Marketing, which you can see their info down there in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. They are a digital marketing company specializing in SEO, PPC, content writing, social media management, business development. They're going to jump into the NIL space here shortly, have some NIL deals in the works, some different things going on. They wanted to get their info and name out there because they knew this would be a huge episode. They knew that there'd be a lot of interest in FSU UF talk. With the week that we're in, Thanksgiving week, rivalry week, one of our favorite weeks of the year as Noles. TJ Salomone is a former FSU alum. or is an FSU alum, former grad, current booster, big-time supporter, big-time FSU fan. Appreciate his support and appreciate him sponsoring this episode. If you guys have a website, if you have a business that needs some help, whether that be from any kind of aspect of digital marketing, reach out to them today. You can go to SalomoneDigitalMarketing.com. Their social medias are very easy to find. Search Salomone, Salomone. You can see it again down there on the bottom corner of the screen. You can visit their Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, search Salomone, and you should be able to find that fairly easily. TJ is their CEO and owner. That's not me, but TJ Salomone is their owner / CEO. Good guy, good buddy of mine. Check them out today. If you don't have a business or a website that needs optimization, or you don't need any consulting or anything like that, just give them a follow on social media. Let's Noles help Noles at the end of the day, and let's grow their accounts. Let's get them kind of going. If you do have a business or a website and you're interested in their services, he will do a free consultation. If you mention this ad on Double Fries No Slaw, say Double Fries No Slaw, and you get a free consultation. And if you end up signing up for their services, you will get 10% off your first month. They will honor that anytime between now and the next 6 months after this podcast airs. So 6 months from here in the end of November. That sounds like it would go through around the end of May. So if you have a business, I would certainly love to have you reach out to them. But Salomone Digital Marketing, my buddy TJ over there, check them out. Whether it be on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, their website for any of your SEO, optimization, content, strategy, whatever needs for your business today. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you for sponsoring us, and go Noles. Nick, you were telling me before we got started that you've not had Guthrie's. What is the Guthrie's, not necessarily chicken tenders, but what is the Guthrie's of Gainesville? Like, where is like the stop? Like if somebody's coming to town and you're going to send them to eat, not that steakhouse that you're posting all the time with your Gators territory.
No, the 2 a.m. spot. Yeah.
Where's the spot for us regulars to be able to go, man, after hitting the strip all night?
The 2 a.m. spot is it's called Italian Gator, but nobody would know it as that. It's because their sign just says pizza by the slice, and that's what everyone calls it. I didn't know. I think I must have been like 19, 20 years old freshman year. Excuse me. I was 21 after a night at the bar, of course. And you just see a line and pizza by the slice. And I woke up the next morning. I checked like my debit card. And I'm like, what is Italian Gator? What is this fraud that is going on for $4 on my credit card? And someone told me like that's the pizza we had. And I'm like, no, that place was called Pizza by the Slice. So it's right in Midtown, right across from the stadium. That's the drunk spot probably there. Or Relish, which is a burger place.
Big Relish.
Relish. Yeah, Relish is a great burger when you're in town. They have a couple locations now.
That might be my stop on the way home. It's not really quick, but that still might be my stop on the way home.
So real quick, like my favorite food I've ever had in Gainesville late night. So a lot of my real good friends from high school went to UF. So like I spent a lot of weekends in Gainesville. We were at the Jimmy John's across from campus one night, like right there. We'd been at Salty Dog and Balls all night. And some guy walks in handing out pizza slices from I forget the name of the pizza place, but he hands us a slice of pizza. And my buddy Cody, shout out to him. He's like, you know who that is, right? I'm like, who's that? It's like, oh, that's Ryan Lochte. And he was wasted just walking through, handing out pizza to anybody who would take a slice. And I thought it was the coolest thing, especially looking back now to what all he's accomplished.
Yeah.
An Olympic, gold medal winner. That was pretty cool. But I've had a lot of good nights in Gainesville. It's, I do not like the University of Florida, but I will not hate on the Gainesville nightlife.
That must have been either Pizza by the Slice, which is right there next to.
I think that's what it was.
Next to Salty and Balls, or Paisanos, which would have been a little far of a walk for.
I think it's Pizza by the
Lochte.
Slice for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Italian Gator, a Pizza by the Slice. So that's it's right there. Listen, great marketing. You're a pizza place that stays open late, 15 steps away from all the bars that the college kids go to.
I'm going with Relish because it's a little bit farther away from the stadium, and I feel like I can actually get out of town. Speaking of the game, I guess we'll talk about that just a little bit. Florida comes into this game as a 2.5-point favorite. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about all of the turmoil, maybe is a good word, but kind of all the craziness going around with UF. But kind of going backwards, Nick, I don't know if you have one, don't have one, but do you have like a favorite UF FSU memory? Whether that's a game from way back, a neat experience at a game you were at. Richie, you included this question, so I'll let you. I'm sure you have one off the top of your head. We can let Nick think for a minute, but Richie go first, and then Nick, and then I'll clean us up. But just a favorite memory from this rivalry.
Yeah. So as far as attending games, there's no question at all. In my opinion, it was that 2010 game in Tallahassee, right? It was Urban's last year. Florida was on, I think it was a 6-year win streak at the time. And I felt good going into the game, but I remember UF driving on the field, going up 7-0. And then Florida State just turned it on. I think it was 31-7 at the end. I forget the final score, but Kurt, you posted the GIF, TJ, on our podcast Twitter account today of Christian Ponder doing the chomp as he ran back into the locker room during halftime when, Rodney Smith hits that huge touchdown going down the sideline. I was sitting right there. Just the weight of our shoulders, like a losing streak like that, and especially for me, who's been a Florida State fan my whole life, but also was a student the same 4 years that Tim Tebow was a student at UF. It was rough for me, especially when I had really good friends who were students at UF the same year that got to see basketball, football, national titles, just racking them up. So that was special to me, just being there to end the streak. I was living in Charleston at the time. I'm like, I'm not missing this for anything. But for me, the top memory will always be Charlie Ward, the work done, right? Nobody's ever going to forget that 93. The swamp was extremely
I'm not
loud.
quite as old as you, so I don't remember that.
Well, I don't remember that either. I've just watched the game several times. I don't remember it watching it live. I was 5 years old. I was born in 88. But at the same time, looking back, Work Done is probably my favorite football player ever when you combine college and pro and what he does off the field. Like I strive to be as good of a human as he is one day. But yeah, that 93 Ward Done, just knowing that helped get Florida State to Bobby Bowden's first national title. Yeah. So favorite memory overall is Ward Done. And luckily I've been, lucky enough to meet both of those people. And favorite attended game, definitely 2010, because I was with one of my best friends who was a UF grad who celebrated a lot of success while he was in college. And to be able to look at him and be like, hey, how about that? That was pretty nice.
Nick, do you have a favorite memory, whether it's when you attended or not?
Yeah, so I'll be 33 tomorrow, and I think like my first.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. I think my first like real memory of both my parents went to Florida. My first real memory of like the Gators was probably the '96 national championship. I remember like
cut him off.
Parents.
TJ, mute him.
The year before, Florida got crushed by Nebraska in the national championship, and I just remember like my memory is just like my dad being very angry. I didn't know why or the significance of the game at that time. I didn't like it being a national championship had no bearing on my life at that moment. But then the next year, growing up in South Florida, there's so many Florida, Miami, Florida State fans. We had my dad had people over, Florida State fans going back and forth. So that was like my first real memory of the rivalry. And then 2 in person. One was in Gainesville. I was at Tebow and Spike's senior day in the swamp. That was cool to see. And then one was Dante Fowler's junior year. I think it was his junior year. We're down on the field as a reporter, and FSU, the student section, is just letting him have it. And at some point, he was just like, I'm leaving after this year. I don't care if the coaches get mad at me. I'm going to let them have it back. And then Dante Fowler just like turns and like stops warming up, stops everything, and is just jawing with students. And I'm like, epic. I get it. I was like, but you don't want to make him mad. Like getting punched by him and getting him like thrown out of the game is probably not worth it. You'd rather just like not break your jaw and have him play in the game.
So I was at Tebow's senior day. I'll just say electric atmosphere. I remember towards the third or fourth quarter, you were there. I'm sure you remember it. everyone taking pictures. That's before like cell phones were big things. Like a lot of people had disposable cameras or digital cameras, and you could just see the flashes from the cameras going off like crazy. And I was just
almost like nonstop, because you knew like, hey, he's gonna come out at some point, and you're trying to get, is this the last play? And it was just like a constant, like a Kodak commercial almost.
In between trying not to have a seizure, I was like, man, I'm glad this guy's gone. Like, this is it. Like, this sucks that I'm sitting here right now with one of my best friends watching his team just drag us. But this guy's gone, so that's good.
Richie's taking the pictures. This is the last play? Thank God. There it is. That's the last one. Get out of here.
I mean, the 2013 game was a lot of fun. I was on the field
what was that? 27? Was that 27-2? Or was that 14?
No, that was 15.
That was 47-7.
Yeah. I was at, I don't know, the 27-2 one was it took a while for that one to get going. I was on the field in 2016 for that game. Somebody gave me a field pass, and I was there for the entire, I watched the entire game from the field. It even had probably get canceled for like FSU's SID. Will probably say like, where'd you get that? But anyway, it was like 5 years ago. So 3 coaches ago, I'm sure I'm fine. But I was on the field. It was even a bench pass. So like I legitimately have pictures like right next to DeMarcus Walker and stuff. So that was really cool. Like just kind of a neat experience. The favorite memory is probably the Ricks to Sam. Like I remember, because you're 13 and nothing else in life really matters, except for college football. And so that was really, really cool as a kid to get to enjoy that moment, and everybody kind of like Gator fans remember where they were for the heave to cleave and everything else that's kind of happened over the last, few years. That's dramatic ending and stuff like that. So Ricks to Sam was definitely neat as a youngster.
That rain game in Tallahassee with Tebow when he looked like
bloody,
like Mel Gibson and Braveheart because of how much it was raining and all the paint. That's memorable. Probably it's probably just a Tebow thing.
That is the worst memory of my rivalry, because I had like 6 friends who were all either at UF or Santa Fe staying at my house that weekend, and literally midway through the fourth quarter, I'm like, our hot water heater is not the best. I'm going to run home and get a first shower, because when everyone else gets back, like, I know we're not winning this ball game. So I'm going to run home and get my shower real quick.
This was definitely growing up a Florida fan. This was definitely my favorite rivalry. And I like asking players that, because when I was growing up, it was Spurrier and Fulmer. So Florida, Tennessee was really competitive. But Florida dominated Georgia, in my lifetime. And I didn't even really consider that a rivalry, but it's probably how many friends I had growing up that were Florida State fans. And like you said, TJ, when you're 13, you're not worrying about a mortgage or anything else. You're like, hey, you got to turn your homework in and watch college football. That's it. Those are your responsibilities.
Right.
So, I think growing up, that's probably why this was my favorite rivalry, and I always looked forward to it. It's Thanksgiving weekend. It's right around my birthday. And then it's bragging rights with, my friends that I grew up with for 365.
Yeah, for the rest of the year. Looking at this game, Florida comes in as a 2.5-point favorite. The line opened up at 2, jumped down to 1, has jumped back up to like 2.5 right now. It seems to have settled, but we'll see with some of the news that continues to come out where things end up on Saturday morning. I can't imagine that it gets too much further from that. Like, I don't think it crosses any definitive lines. Like, it won't go above 3. It won't flip to FSU being a favorite or anything like that. But Florida comes in kind of sputtering without a coach. First of all, thoughts on where Florida's at, just with no coaching staff. There's no play callers from the start of the season that will be there on Saturday. What are your thoughts on just, we don't have all night, but what are your thoughts on everything going on at Florida right now with the transition time?
13 months ago, Florida was a top 5 team with a Heisman candidate, a John Mackey Award winner, and Kadarius Toney. And now what you just said is their reality. So it's been a spectacular collapse by Dan Mullen and the team. Had to do a lot of things wrong to get to this point. It's interesting. So I watched Florida completely not care about being in Gainesville or at the Swamp for a half against Sanford before, figuring it out. I watched them figure that out. Then I watched them go to Missouri, and the defense played great after letting an FCS team score 42 on you. Defense played really well against Missouri, and the offense doesn't show up. I think a lot of people have asked me all year, did Dan Mullen lose the locker room? I don't think he ever did. A lot of players were angry when it was announced that he wasn't going to coach. I mean, some of the older guys get it, like Zach Carter, who's in his 4th year, Malik Davis, who's in his 5th year. They understand, hey, it's a business. You've got some freshmen and sophomores who, understandably are not happy about it. The guy that, they came to play for is now not going to be here the rest of their career. So it'll be interesting. I think the defense really likes Christian Robinson. He's a young, energetic coach. But I think for the most part, I'm banking on Florida playing for the seniors. It's been a class. I mean, a class has had to go through a lot. I don't know if that's enough. And honestly, if Florida makes a couple of mistakes and Florida State gets up early, I can't confidently tell you that it's a team that won't just fold and say, listen, this year has sucked. Let's just pack it in. It's almost over.
Yeah, it definitely feels like go ahead, Richie.
No, I was going to say
you got to send those texts earlier.
So that was my question, because it even last week in the loss to Missouri, I caught some of the game. It's not like the Gators quit, right? They just got beat, unfortunately for UF fans, and unfortunately for Florida State fans who wanted Dan Mullen to have another year. But it's a situation where these guys are still playing hard, and it's still Florida State, right? Like if they've checked out on Florida, they're going to play hard because they know these players on Florida State. These guys grew up together. They played against each other in high school. It's a real situation. But what I wanted to ask was kind of what you just mentioned. I do think Florida State has shown some resiliency this year, which we didn't expect after an 0-4 start. So where Florida goes up, 10-0, like North Carolina did on us, I won't panic too much. But say Florida State goes up, 21-3 or something like last week against Boston College before the refs decided to, put their input into the game. Does Florida respond to that, or does it need to be close all the way? Because I could see this. I'm not predicting it. I could see if Florida State jumps up early and takes a big enough lead, Florida just kind of collapses at that point.
I think it'll be interesting. So Florida's running game is really good, and people are very angry about how they use their running backs. They've got 2 5-stars on the bench that don't play at all. You get down to the goal line, and you've got a 220-pound running back in Dameon Pierce, who apparently isn't in your goal line package, and you use a 190-pound Malik Davis instead. And Dan Mullen has been saying, I think he goes, Greg Knox handles the interim coach and running backs coach handles that rotation. And from what I'm hearing is Dameon Pierce, who leads the team leads the running backs in rushing, despite having the 3rd most carries, will probably get his most usage. And you're going to see Gator fans cursing Dan Mullen on Saturday, I think, and saying, no, you're the one that was making this running back rotation. So I think Florida needs to lean on the running game. It'll be interesting, though, because Greg Knox, who's the interim head coach and running backs coach, could have said, hey, I'm calling plays. But they're going with Garrick McGee, who's in his 1st year. He's the quarterbacks coach. And it'll be interesting. Anthony Richardson, I've been told, is healthy. Emory Jones got banged up Monday night. He didn't practice Tuesday, but is going to be able to return to practice Wednesday. So that's something to watch too for Florida. Who's going to play quarterback? And how much does an interim coach actually change? This is your one opportunity. Greg Knox has been a coach for 30 years, I think 27 straight years in the SEC. And this will only be the 2nd time he's ever had to, or had the opportunity to call plays and run a team.
Do you think that, and I've got to point on Richie's too. Florida State has done this the last 2 weeks where they've gotten big leads on people, and it seems like no lead is safe. Now, I do think that, Miami and Boston College probably had more to maybe fight for. And, you did see UF when they got down big against South Carolina, just, pack it in and say like we're done. I do think that playing on the road against South Carolina is a little different than playing at home against Florida. Now, certainly, if Florida State was to go up by 4 touchdowns, they may pack it in. But unless Florida State was to get up really, really big, it would kind of surprise me that if UF kind of like Nick just said, packs it in. I think in this game, that's not necessarily something I expect. What I will say is like with Anthony potentially starting instead of Emory Jones, reports have come out today that he will likely be the starter in this game. I think the fans have clamored all year for, him to start, him to be the quarterback. And, we'd be 10-1 if he had started, we'd be right there. He probably has a higher ceiling, career wise than, Emory Jones. I don't think anybody would argue with that, but, with him starting, what do you think that does for Florida's, I'll say chances? Like, does it make things a little bit tougher, or is he just kind of, NFL Jameis, where you're going to have some great plays and then you're going to have some really boneheaded plays where, hopefully Florida State doesn't kind of capitalize on it from the UF perspective?
Yeah, I think Florida would not be 10-1 if Anthony Richardson had been starting all year. I think he has a higher ceiling. I think his floor is lower right now. You look at the LSU game, he threw an interception on the third drive when he came in. Then he comes in and basically replacing Emory Jones, and he leads 4 straight touchdown drives to keep Florida in that game against LSU. And then throws an interception on their last offensive drive, and it's a guy's coming. Defensive lineman's, about to hit him in his chest. He's falling backwards and throwing like Thanksgiving back in the back when you were a kid playing 500 in the backyard. He just like throws a ball up and hoping somebody catches it. It gets intercepted and the game's over. That's a freshman mistake that you're going to make. I think what I was writing and saying Florida should do is let him make those mistakes now. This season, your goals were pretty much over even before you lost to Georgia and Jacksonville. So let him make those mistakes now and build for next year. Starting against that Georgia defense, I would say that Georgia defense is probably as good as any of the Alabama defenses that I've seen in the past. There's a lot of guys that are going to be playing on Sunday on that defense. So that was a tough place for him to make his first career start. And then I don't know, you see some immaturity off the field. Like, I don't know how you hurt your knee on a Friday night before the South Carolina game. It makes a lot of sense when you think about the season in its entirety. Of course, the backup quarterback, who everyone calls a generational talent, hurts his knee doing a TikTok dance the Friday night before a game. Why not? That's how the season has gone. I think the difference with him is that I don't know if he's as good of a passer yet as Emory. Both have really strong arms. I think the decision-making, Anthony's a little quicker to tuck it and run. I think you'll see more quarterback runs with Anthony, depending on how he's feeling and the game plan with there.
Do you think that there's a chance that, I don't know that against South Carolina we saw a lack of effort. I know we talked about the one against Samford, but do you think that there's a chance that them moving on from Mullen kind of galvanizes the team and we see more effort this week? I know you said that they may kind of play for the seniors, but do you think that there's a realistic chance that they'll, as Richie just who knows where he went on his iPhone 3, do you think that there's a chance that
Dan Mullen called him? He's going to coach with him
in Jacksonville with him.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance the guys really come out and play a lot harder, or do you kind of just expect the same thing that we've seen all year?
I don't think it's like a win one for the Gipper kind of thing. I think, kind of like what Richie said, or what you said, it's Florida State. Like you're coming out to play in this rivalry. You're playing for your seniors. I don't think they're playing for Dan. I think they're probably rallying around themselves. Because there's been a lot. I mean, I would have advised, most Florida players, like, hey, just stay off social media. Like it's been a lot. There's times where I'm not calling plays, I'm not recruiting anybody, I'm not turning the ball over, where I've had to put my phone down. Like I can't even look at Twitter. It's been a really long year for anyone involved with Florida football. So I think you might get like a bunker mentality from the guys where they're just trying to rally around each other and play. But I don't think it's like I said, a win-win for the Gipper kind of deal.
Yeah, FSU's defensive line is without a doubt the best unit on the team, maybe the best unit of any of any single unit in the state. They have been absolutely fantastic. I saw a stat that they let like the top two guys in quarterback pressures this week were both of FSU's in the nation were both of FSU's defensive linemen. I think that's a place that FSU can really capitalize on, and if they have success in this game, it's probably because they did a really good job. They did a great job against BC. They did a great job against Miami. Talk to me about UF's O-line, how healthy or how well that unit is playing, and is there concern around FSU's defensive ends? Maybe that's an obvious question of yes.
Yeah, Florida could not run the ball to the point where they just gave up running the ball. And listen, last year they had some good pass pro and they were able to throw it. So this year has been the complete opposite. Florida's offensive line, it was probably been my surprise unit of the season because I just came in with such low expectations. But they're not healthy. Ethan White, who was the starting left guard, hasn't played, I think, since the Georgia game. But Josh Braun, who's a former 5-star, I think, or 4-star, he has stepped in there. Richie Garage was hurt last week, but able to come back into the game at Missouri. So he's expected to play and start. So other than White, I think Florida's pretty healthy on the offensive line. I don't see Gene Delance, Florida's right tackle, having a good day against Florida State's defensive line. And they've kind of yo-yoed him in and out as he struggled. He starts every single game and then plays terribly, and then they bring somebody else in, and then they kind of like shift for the rest of the time. And that's another reason why Florida fans have been so angry is that it seems like, well, he's a redshirt senior, and that's the only reason he's playing. He wasn't good in 2020. He's not good in 2021. Why is he still out there? That's definitely the deficiency at right tackle on Florida's offensive line, which, like I said, I think they've played better than anyone has expected for the most part this year.
Florida defensively obviously struggled pretty tough against struggled very much in that first half against Samford. Sorry if I could use my words right. Played better against Missouri, held them to 16 points in regulation, forced a lot of field goals in that first half, and then you only really had the one Missouri touchdown before overtime. Florida State's identity in the first half of this year was definitely a very run-heavy team with Jordan Travis running a lot, Jayshon Corbin, and some of the stable that Florida State has kind of hitting a lot. But over the last couple of weeks, they've thrown the ball a ton. I mean, had 34 passing attempts against Boston College. Against Miami, I think it was like 25 or 26, but Travis threw for 275 yards. What concerns you the most about Florida State's offense going up against UF's defense?
Florida losing Ventrell Miller, and I don't think Ventrell Miller would have been an All-American or an All-SEC linebacker this year, but he's a redshirt senior, was kind of the heart and soul of Florida's defense, and he tears his bicep early on and has missed most of the year. Florida's had trouble fitting against the run. They've had trouble tackling, and like Ventrell Miller is a guy you probably would have penciled in for 115 tackles this year. Not great against the pass, but would have helped you against the run. So Florida's issues this year have been keeping contained. So if you're talking about Jordan Travis being able to run, that's been an issue. If you're talking about making tackles in open space, that's another issue Florida's had. And then there's been some coverage issues outside of Kaiir Elam. Alabama's really the only team that tested Kaiir Elam. And I think he allowed one reception. He's had some pass interference penalties this year. But yeah, Florida's biggest issues this year on defense have been tackling and not fitting runs. They'll play really well, and then they'll have a mental error that results in like a 57-yard play, and then they'll give up a touchdown because now they're in the red zone. So they seem to make little mistakes that turn into critical errors, and they'll play well. You'll see they'll play well and have 4 straight 3-and-outs, and then somebody misses an assignment, and then there's a 70-yard pass, and all of a sudden it's first and goal of the 2, and you're just like, well, that's the Florida defense. You're waiting for some kind of catastrophe.
Yeah, and it seems like, and I'll let Richie go here, and then we'll get into some of our prize picks and let you out of here. But it definitely seems like Florida. I think the stat was they're 2-9 of their last 11 Power 5 games. Those 2 wins coming against Vandy and Tennessee. And what it seems like, outside of the games that were blowouts,
seems like it's been fun to watch. Is that what it seems like
for us? Yeah,
yeah. It seems like Florida just finds a different way to lose every game. Like no offense against Kentucky, no defense the next week against LSU, neither against South Carolina, no defense against Samford. Obviously that ended up being a win anyway, but then offense struggles against Missouri. You have timely mistakes.
I kept asking Dan Mullen about that. I'm like, hey, if I go golfing and I know that I'm gonna slice, I would like to have one miss. I don't want to stand over a golf ball and think, well, I could dribble this 8 yards in front of me. I could hook it. I might duff it and not hit it at all. I might slice it. I'd rather just have one miss. So I kept asking Dan, I'm like, hey, you guys do something spectacularly wrong every game, but it's never the same thing. Would it be easier to fix if it was just one thing? He's like, oh, well, it's just inconsistency. And I think what happened with Dan Mullen at Florida, he didn't get fired because he wasn't losing games. The discipline, the accountability, and the attention to detail had kind of teetered off every year since he got there. It was great when he started, and then, something happened during the COVID year. It was probably harder to keep control of everyone and a lot of things going on. And then this year, there was just really no attention to detail and no accountability. And I think that's why Florida has 8 false starts against Kentucky among 15 penalties. And then that's why, the next game it's turnovers that are doing it. So there's really, Florida's right now has got the yips on the tee. And I don't know which one will come, but one of those things that has shown its head each week will happen Saturday, because that's how this season has gone. I can't tell you which one, and I don't know if they can either.
And it seemed that Dan Mullen just doesn't like coaching college. He doesn't like the work that you have to put in, mainly with recruiting. But going to the other side of the ball, Anthony Richardson, obviously one of the most intriguing quarterbacks in the entire country, if you ask me, as a freshman here. It had some real highlight plays against FAU, USF earlier this year. Gets the start against Georgia, which I thought was a disservice to him. Like, why would you make his first start against them? But Andrew, one of our listeners here, was asking, what does starting Richardson mean for Florida's offensive game plan compared to Florida State? Because obviously Florida State's pretty good up front and front forward. Linebackers have improved, but Richardson is still an elite athlete, and he does change the way that offense would operate. Obviously, Dan Mullen's not there, so it's really tough. Part of the reason I have no idea what's going to happen this weekend, but what's going to happen with Florida's offensive game plan?
It'll be interesting. I'm really not familiar with Garrick McGee, who's the first-year quarterbacks coach for Florida since Brian Johnson left. I'm not familiar with him. He has play calling experience, but I'm not very intimately familiar with how he'll call a game or formulate a game plan, create a game plan. I think you'll see Anthony's just more quick. So Dan Mullen told these guys last year, Kyle Trask would go through 4 reads, then come back to his first. Dan Mullen and Garrick McGee did not want Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson to do that. They just like, hey, you've got 2 reads on this play. And even if after your first read, you see a lane to run, take it, go. Because both of these guys can run. And I think Anthony's a little quicker to pull it in and run. So it might look like they're calling more designed runs, maybe like a quarterback draw, but it's really just Anthony's kind of got a quick hairpin trigger to take it off and use his legs.
It'll be interesting to see. We'll get to some score predictions here in a little bit. I think really what the game kind of comes down to, and I talked with Allie about this a little bit earlier today, but I really think that if Florida State can get pressure with 4, which they've done the last 2 weeks, and make life hell for Anthony and force him into some of those young freshman mistakes, I do think he's going to make some plays, whether it be with his legs or his big arm. But if they can get pressure with 4 and really force Florida into the mistakes. And I think Florida State's done a really good job the last 2 weeks of not turning the ball over. I think we had 1 turnover against Boston College, 1 turnover against Miami. 1 turnover against NC State. I think only 1 against Clemson. So, like, as long as you're not putting up 2 or 3 turnovers and you're forcing your opponent into that, right? Whether it's, Anthony's kind of gotten in and had a few turnovers the few games he's had. We actually had 2 against Clemson. I'll take that back. But
no, that last one doesn't count. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you, Florida State doesn't need to force turnovers. Florida just will willingly hand them out. They will.
Hopefully it's like Daniel Jones throwing it to our Bucs defensive lineman on Monday night.
How bad is he? That's what he gets for that game a few years ago, where he beat. Oh my God,
it's a holiday weekend. We're in the giving spirit. Florida will turn the ball over. We'll likely turn the ball over Saturday.
I can tell you, our listeners hope you're right, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Florida's a -8 turnover margin on the year. They don't really create turnovers that well. And I think Emory Jones had for, I don't know if he has any more, but led the nation in interceptions for a quarterback for a while. And obviously Anthony's up there, I think, with interceptions. I have it pulled up somewhere.
He's got
5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and Emory Jones, 10 interceptions, was leading the country for a while. I don't know if it still is. But Trent Whittemore. How about Dan Mullen? His last play call at Florida is a wide receiver pass to the quarterback. What a way to go out, Dan.
I like that.
I should have put some interception on these prize picks because now I'm like, you have 1.5. No, we're going to add to the end. You have 1.5 turnovers at the end. So that'll be our special team number 6.
Yeah. I like that one. I mean, I'm going over, but we'll get to it in a minute. So, but I think if Florida State can get pressure, I think this game will be close, and we'll go predictions in a minute. But I think it's going to go out of the fourth quarter. But I think if they can get pressure with 4 and get a couple of turnovers, they'll win the game. So we will jump into and then get Nick out of here. Our Prize Picks segment, our over-unders. You can download the Prize Picks app today. Use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW, for a 100% match up to your first $100. So deposit 50, you get a 50% match. If you deposit 75, 100, 150, still 100. So you can take over-unders on not only the Florida State game, but all of the rivalry week games this weekend. You can match those up with stuff on the NFL. That'll be Sunday. Hit it for Thanksgiving football tomorrow. We talked about the Egg Bowl, which I'm way more excited about than the Bills versus – they should have flexed the Saints out. Once Jameis got hurt, there's no way that we should have Bills versus Saints with a tight end playing quarterback.
Did you see Dan Campbell? I like Dan Campbell. I hope he figures it out in Detroit. A reporter told him, Coach, this will probably be the last time you guys get a chance to play in front of a national audience this year. He goes, wait, you don't think they're going to flex us on a Sunday? And I'm like, oh, man. Come on. A little self-deprecating humor.
I like it. I saw a tweet today that said, I can't wait for tomorrow around this time when we'll all be complaining about how much we hate this Bears-Lions matchups, but still actively choosing to watch it instead of hanging out with our families.
Exactly. Yeah. We're all going to watch,
so
right?
Bad football is still better than – it's the only thing on, man. You think I'm going to talk to my grandma? Like,
I keep telling Florida fans that. They're like – Florida fans, obviously, the way the season, especially how it's ending, is like, I can't wait for the season to be over. I'm like, cool. Talk to me in June. When you're dying for any scrap of football news.
Yeah, you get 12 games a year.
That's it.
You got it. And last year, Florida State only got 9. They weren't great, but I still watched that last game against Duke when we won, and I felt pretty good about it, despite being, 2-6 heading into that one.
And that's why I didn't like the whole celebration gate after Sanford. I had no problem with Florida celebrating it. You only get 12 opportunities to celebrate with your teammates. You hadn't won in over a month at that point. Don't put it on social media. Like, read the room a little bit. Your fans are not going to be happy. And then when Dan comes in and says, winning football games is hard, you're like, well, that one's not supposed to be hard. That one isn't. Yes, I agree. It is hard. That one's not supposed to be. And don't tell your angry fan base that beating Sanford is hard. But I had no problem with the celebration. I just wouldn't have put it on my Instagram story.
Yeah. Richie, I don't know if celebration stuff is what you've got in these prize picks, but these are Richie specials here. Nick, we just do over-unders. There's no accountability because Richie doesn't tell us the next week how we did, and you won't be here anyway. So actually, this is the last preview show, so it doesn't matter. Well,
unless we somehow end up in a bowl game together. You never know, right?
I was wondering, so Florida has a really high APR. but I don't know if they would accept a bowl game if they lose Saturday.
Without a
I don't know if
coach,
they
probably
would accept.
not. Yeah.
Well, you're already paying these coaches through
Yeah,
the end of the year.
that's true.
So you could leave your lame duck staff and say, hey, go coach this team. And then
Get to work.
Whoever you hire, you have a whole new staff. Hey, build your staff and you guys go recruit. Watch the 19 practices, get a live look at the team. I think that might be something that's intriguing.
That's what we did Jimbo's year. I mean, we qualified for a bowl at 6-6, but that's what we did Jimbo's year. I mean, Odell
Willie
coached
came
the
and
team,
practice,
and Willie went out and recruited, or used card salesman the kids. But you call that recruiting if you want. But anyway, I'd be
tomato.
I do think that it's much more important. I think this game is more important for Florida State. I think this game is very irrelevant for Florida. Not that the kids will feel that way, but I do think I don't know how much the extra practices help with a whole new staff coming in next year anyway. How much does it matter that, but I do think for Florida State, it would be big to get those extra, because the staff there's continuity there. There feels like they're building something. I don't know. Maybe I'm full of crap. Richie, over-unders.
All right, we'll jump right into prize picks this week. Again, these numbers are from the Barn Sportsbook, because prize picks, they typically get, all of the college games up by Thursday or Friday morning. But we'll start with Jordan Travis. I have him at 203.5 passing yards. I think I'm going to go over here just because I think he has a lot of confidence as a passer right now that he didn't have. And, a month ago, I would have set this line at probably like 127.5, but 203.5. Nick, what do you think?
What a specific number. 203.5 passing. I'll go under on that. I think Florida, they've kind of finally figured out their guy in the nickel with Jadarius Perkins. I think Kyrie Elam will be. This is a game that he's been waiting for. And then across from him, Avery Helms kind of been getting beat up a little bit this year, but Jason Marshall has gotten as a freshman better each week. So I think Florida will have more success against the pass than they will against stopping the run. So I'll go under for 203.5.
I like over here. He went 250 against Miami. He went 275 against Miami, 250 against BC. I think that Florida State, we threw the ball 34 times last week. I think that we have really found something with the passing game. I also think that the running game is taking a little bit of a step back with some of the injuries to the interior of the offensive line. And so I think that's forced Florida State to get a little bit more creative with their passing game and lean on that a little bit more. So give me the over of that. I don't know that he goes for 250, but
Florida's only given up 200 passing yards in 3 games this year.
200. You're saying like they don't give up 200. They've only who have they done that against?
Let's see. Samford.
I'm guessing Bryce Young.
Samford threw for 416.
Bama, right?
Bama threw for 240. Oh, sorry, 4 games. 4 games. So FAU, a lot of that was garbage time. Alabama. FAU, Alabama, Tennessee, and the mighty Bulldogs of
Samford.
Traditional blue blood power Samford.
LSU, they had one guy go for 300 yards, 287
rushing, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Davis.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Over. I don't care what Nick says.
Yes. Speaking
get your stats out of here. Are you crazy?
Stats are for losers.
Speaking of rushing yards, we'll go reverse. TJ Anthony Richardson. I have it at 42.5. Thinking within mind that obviously sacks count against the rushing total.
Man, that's a good line. I think 42.5. I think that okay, Nick, let me ask you this before I make my call. Like, do you think he's healthy enough to play, but do you think he's 100%? Because he wasn't 100% last week.
No, he was 100% last week.
They just didn't get in.
I think there's some element of punishing him. So he was concussed. He got a concussion against Georgia, but was cleared Wednesday. They fly to South Carolina, and they're planning on using him more than they have, because you had basically handed him the starting job in Baton Rouge. He gets hurt against Georgia in the next week, and then you get hurt dancing on Friday night and have to spend, that was a night game in Columbia, you have to spend all day Saturday getting treatment, and then you can only be used as, you can only be used as an emergency option. You lose that game. I think he was being punished by not playing, other than handing the ball off against Samford and then not playing against Missouri. But I've been told he was healthy, could have played in all 3 of those games.
Gotcha. I'll I'll go over here. I think he's also, I do think our defensive line does pretty well. I was looking today. I saw Georgia got 2 sacks. I actually like us to get more sacks, but I also think that he's big and strong, kind of like Jerkovich last week, and can kind of get out, turn a couple of 7-yard sacks into like 1-yard sacks, right? Like, like a loss of 1. So I can see him taking off one time and going over on this.
I didn't even know what was happening there. TJ had no idea what he was going to do, and then just squeezed information out of me to make a more educated pick.
Yeah,
I feel dirty. I feel dirty right now.
I appreciate it. Over.
All right, Nick, what do you think?
I'm going to go over as well, especially if, like I said, Emory is going to practice today, so we'll see. I would still expect Anthony to start, and if he does start, he'll go over. If Greg Knox is going to go with the same route that Mullen went and not play him at all, then it'll be under. But I'll go over because I think Emory will be a little hobbled on his ankle.
Yeah, I think he's he's the guy who can go 80 yards in one play, right?
Yeah,
and that's what scares me. Being a contrarian right here, I'll take the under just because I love our defensive line. I think, I would not have said this coming into the season. I'd take Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas over almost any defensive end duo in the country. They had 20 total pressures last week and not a single holding call in that game. ACC, come on, what's going on here? But that's fine. I'll take the under just to, again, be the contrarian. But I know I'm banking on us not giving up that one huge rush. Next one, Jayshon Corbin, 63.5 rush yards. He had a huge start to the season. He's fallen off a little bit. I set that line, honestly, thinking it's going to be close. I'll go slightly under, though. I think Trayshawn Ward will get involved, and Lawrence Toafili's back healthy. So I'll go under 63.5, Jayshon Corbin. Nick, what do you think?
I'll go over. I just don't have confidence in Florida's ability to tackle in space. It'll be interesting to see. Brenton Cox looked really good against Missouri. It's the first time the 5-star transfer from Georgia's looked good, set the edge. But still, they were able to hold. I forget his name. Tyler Beatty to like 16 yards in the first half, and then he runs for 120 in the second half. Gashed by South Carolina, gashed by LSU, gashed by Tennessee. It's hard to pick Florida because you don't know which Florida team is going to show up any given quarter, let alone any given Saturday. But I'm going to go over.
Give me the over as well. I keep taking the over for him, and he keeps going slightly under, but I think he hits it this week.
All right. And then we'll go to Jacob Copeland, a guy a lot of Florida State fans, including myself, thought that would be playing in Garnet and Gold during his college career. 4.5 receptions. I have no idea, so I'm just going to cheat and go to Nick and make my decision off what he says.
Normally I would say under. For large parts of the season, it looks like Florida was actively ignoring Jacob Copeland. Last week, they were just forcing him the ball. But when Anthony Richardson plays, there's definitely a comfort level there. And Anthony targets Jacob Copeland more than Emory does when he's playing. I'll go over 4.5 targets or receptions because he can drop the ball now too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tricky. That's a great line. That's close. I'll go
Panhandle boy against Florida State. Love it.
Yeah, it'll be a big game for him. I don't even know where his head is at because he's been frustrated all year with his usage. Yeah. I'll go under, but under at 4, like right there. The line was set well.
Yeah, that's the Barn Sportsbook. I'll take the under too, just because Nick knows the Gators a lot better than I do. TJ,
I'll go over just to try and get this one to pick up a point.
All right.
Pick up an imaginary point.
Yeah, to pick up the whose line is it anyway point.
Last one, Jermaine Johnson, 1.5 tackles for loss / sacks. I'm gonna go over.
Me.
Over. I'm going. All right, Nick, over.
I'm gonna pick up my whose line is anyway point. I'll go under.
And then we joked, but I do want to hear 1.5 turnovers for Florida. Yeah, I think we get 1. I don't know if we get 2. TJ, Nick, what do you think?
It doesn't have anything to do with how good Florida State is at getting the ball. Yeah. Florida will force it to you. They will say, I don't care if you don't want this. Here's the ball. That's yours now. Bring the offense on.
I got one for Nick. over under the longest punt of the game being 11 yards.
How dare you?
How
How dare you? I released a statement last week. I said we are aware of what happened. It's being handled internally, and us as a punting loving community, we have no other further comment.
No, Nick, on our Miami preview, since we did it a little early, we didn't have the actual prize picks lines. I made a line of over under 1.5 punts that Florida State just will not field because we don't field punts, and they went over easily in that one. So
wait, they just don't field punts?
They just let it drop and
the
other team down.
Done a good job.
They don't bother catching it.
Just you don't read it well, so they just let it drop, and then we lose like 20 yards in hidden field position.
That's people got mad at Jim McElwain because he wouldn't put Antonio Callaway back there, and then Antonio Callaway called a fair catch at the 1 yard line on a punt, and they were like, "Hey man, maybe that's why he's not fielding punts."
Twitter, social media knows better than the.
Yeah, so like Florida puts Kyer Elam back on punts just because they know that he's going to fair catch it cleanly, and then they can get the offense on. There's not going to be a disaster back there. But Florida has not been good on special teams outside of the punter pretty much all year.
Nick, we're going to get to some score predictions and get out of here. Richie, start us off, then I'll go. Then Nick, you can finish us off and we'll get out of here. But Richie, what you got?
Yeah, so Ed, our main publisher for doublefriesnoslaw.com for all of our content we put. I put gambling picks up there. I'm at 51% for the season, I think. So we're just barely over, not profitable, but we will maybe after this week. Shout out to him. But I sent him a score prediction earlier this week. I've changed it since then, so he's going to have to edit that out. I just don't know how Florida's going to respond, and if Florida State comes out strong, takes a even a 10-0 lead. Dan Mullen's gone, Todd Grantham's gone. Hensey, the offensive line coach, they're like, I don't know what these players have to play for other than it's Florida versus Florida State. So I do think they're going to match Florida State's intensity from the opening kickoff. I just think Florida State's been starting so strong these past few weeks. I'm going to take us 34-23. Don't feel great about it. Again, it's a rivalry, so easily covering the spread. But yeah, 34-23 Florida State.
Originally, I had this at like 3 points, and then I got really cocky when I was talking with Allie earlier today. And I think there's a path. She said, if it ends up being a blowout, I don't think that it would be Florida winning the blowout. I think it would be Florida State getting up and Florida kind of quitting. And so I'm going to predict this with 10% confidence. I think Florida State wins one or the other. But my score is 42-20 FSU.
I don't see a blowout either side. I don't see a blowout. Period.
I'm just going to wild prediction.
I cannot see a blowout either side.
Well, you'll see it Saturday. So
a wild prediction.
Hey, listen, but that's going to help our engagement when we post that Twitter graphic. Shout out Brian Hathaway.
I think Florida State probably edges it out in a close one. In all seriousness,
no, 42-20. Let's go.
No, I'm not giving another score. Like that is the score I'm going with. But I think Florida State has scored plus one.
Florida State has scored 40 points once this year.
UMass, yeah.
Okay.
I like us to get it done. I like us to get it done.
Good prediction.
Man, now I'm nervous for the group chat with the whole roll-up crew with us two and Nick and everyone on Twitter that we got going on.
Yeah, 42-20.
All right, Nick, give us your score.
Can you hear that? Oh man, I just had they were testing my speakers on StreamYard. Still doing it. I'll go with 38-31 Florida. I don't think that Florida's going to miss having Dan Mullen. I can't tell you who the offensive line coach is. He's a graduate assistant. There's another guy on offense who I don't know who it is, but I don't think it's a huge deal for Florida, the players. I think it's more about the rivalry and senior day. I still think Florida has more talent on the roster, whether or not that talent shows up. I think just based on the recruiting that Willie did or did not do. You called him a used car salesman. I thought that was funny. But I think Florida wins this game. Especially if Anthony Richardson is playing, I think he could have a big game.
It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Nick, where can people find your work? Can they follow you? Give yourself a little plug, and then let's get out of here.
Yeah, it's at Torre on Twitter. You can find us on the Roll Up Network at Stadium and Gale, wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out there. And everything I write is on Rivals, Florida.rivals.com. Yeah.
Nick De La Torre, thank you so much for hanging out. Have a great Thanksgiving and a great birthday. We'll see you on Saturday, man.
See. Oh yeah, you'll be there. See you
Coming
Saturday.
Up. Yes, sir.
We'll get you. We'll get some relish after the game.
I'm here for that. Win or lose, good food's always a winner. So
absolutely.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for hanging out. See you, buddy. Nick De La Torre. Thanks to him for hanging out. That was good. All right, we got to blow through a couple of things, Richie, and then get out of here. It's been a while, but without further ado, you ready for this?
I don't have any water, and I finished all my wine, but I'm going to do my best. Oh my
goodness, just do it. You're fine. This is the best part of the entire show, the entire podcast. If you'd like to sponsor this, we are very welcome and open to new sponsors for this segment. But without further ado, Richie Barnes's Basketball Minute.
After a slightly sloppy start to the 2021 campaign, the Fightin' Hams took their show on the road to Duval, and the 904 was awfully kind to the tribe. It all started Sunday evening when the Noles would take on the Lions of Loyola Marymount, and my oh my, did the tribe force them to swallow their pride. While LMU got off to a hot start, their 14-13 lead midway through the first half would be their final lead of the game as Florida State's junkyard dog defense showed up in full force. To my knowledge, there's no bakery in the UNF arena, but there were more than enough Lion turnovers to go around, 24 in total for the night. It was clear at the half that this one was over when Loyola managed just 2 touchdowns and a field goal in the first half. 10 different Noles saw the ball go through the hoop at some point, but it was Matthew Cleveland Cavalier who led the way off the bench, dropping a baker's dozen as the Noles coast to a 73-45 point win. From there, Ham and Co. advanced to the championship bout against a scrappy Mizzou team. Little did they know, when facing Leonard Alexander Hamilton, they would simply be outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, and outplanned. While Garnet and Gold Nation enjoyed Mizzou presenting Dan Jackass Mullen with his pink slip, we surely were not very thankful, and it showed on the hardwood when the Noles tossed the turkey away and instead enjoyed 40 minutes of deep-fried tigers. The Noles took a 27-10 lead midway through the first half when newcomer Caleb General Mills stole the ball off the inbound and found Cameron Fletcher for a tomahawk slam. It was another total team effort with 4 Noles scoring in double digits, with the amazing Anthony Polite leading the way with 14. And late, things got, you already know, classless, when the Caucasian Harrison Pietro connected from deep, putting a bow on this one. The Noles are back in action, hosting Boston University tonight before taking on Purdue in a heavyweight bout in the ACC Big Ten Challenge next week. Woo!
Excellent. Always fun, always good. I thought that was good. I like the Hamilton. So Florida State plays tonight in hoops. Soccer has a big matchup this weekend on Friday for the Elite Eight. So a lot of fun there.
Let's go, Coach K.
We'll do a more full around the horn on Sunday when we recap, hopefully, an FSU football victory, a bowl-clinching win against our rivals from the southeast, the southeast of Tallahassee to the southeast. Richie, thanks for hanging out tonight. Hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving. I know you got to get dinner you got to get to tonight. Hopefully you're not in too much trouble. We will be back on Sunday to talk about the game. Hopefully another win for FSU. Follow us everywhere on social media at Double Fries Pod or Double Fries No Slaw. It's doublefriesnoslaw.com. Again, shout out to the great folks at Salomone Digital Marketing. If you need any SEO or optimization or any kind of help with your website or business, give those folks a shout at SalomoneDigitalMarketing.com or on social media, search Salomone Digital Marketing, SALAMONE Digital Marketing. Richie, have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time, go Noles.
Yes, sir.